We're coming to you live from the Build Forward Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason and Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network. And wherever you're on the free Odyssey app. Good Thursday morning. Lot of action yesterday. A lot of action all over the place. A lot of action in baseball. A lot of action at the radio station. A lot of action out in Michigan. And we will talk about it all. But obviously the Pete Alonso defection, him signing with the Baltimore Orioles, the biggest of the deals, and this has been something that had been in the works for a while. If you were paying attention to the way David Stearns was talking, it shouldn't come as a shock. I know that some Met fans were shocked and thought that because he lost Edwin Diaz, he absolutely had to sign Pete Alonso. I remember looking at you and saying that run prevention comment where he kept saying run prevention, run prevention, run prevention at the end of the season. He was talking about Pete Alonso, amongst other guys. So him going to the Baltimore Orioles for 5 years when he was not going to go over 3, never even offered him a contract, doesn't come as a shock to me. I am going to miss him. I enjoyed his time here. I will never forget Pete Alonso's contributions as a New York Met. But I am excited for whatever this future is going to be because I still... And I know Met fans are going to spit at their radio right now. I still trust this guy. I do. I still trust that he is going to put the right pieces in place to finally deliver me a championship as a Met fan in my lifetime. And I'm going to give him the opportunity to do that. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, G. I'm doing well. And by the way, yesterday we said that Pete Alonso was the big winner in the Kyle Schwarber signing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he got his contract. He just didn't get it from the Mets. And the interesting thing about what you just said is that the Mets didn't even offer him a contract, and that is very telling. Now, they wanted to keep, Edwin Diaz. They wanted to keep him. They gave him a legitimate offer. Edwin then went to the Dodgers, told them what the offer was. The Dodgers upped the offer. He never came back to the Mets. So he wanted to leave. He took the money. He went. Brandon Nimmo, they traded. They asked Brandon, do you want to waive your no-trade clause? Because, we have a trade, and we like the trade. And if you want to go to Texas, and do what you want to do, that's fine. So that means they traded a 10-year Met, they traded a 7-year Met, they traded a 6-year Met, and Jeff McNeil's got to have one foot out the door, I would think.
If they can get rid of him.
Well, basically, they'll to me, what it looks like and what it feels like, and I think we're right in the middle of it, is the Great Met Reset. And that Great Met Reset is what?
Great Met Reset?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
You thought about that before you came in here?
100%.
I like that.
Okay.
I didn't know if that just came right out of your head or you thought about that before.
No, it's the Great Met Reset. I can show you some text messages that I put that in yesterday.
I'm
trying to talk my Met fan friends and family off the ledge about what's going on here. And it's obvious to me what they're doing. And it's one of the reasons why they brought in Marcus Semien. It's one of the reasons they signed Devin Williams. They knew that they were going to most likely lose Edwin Diaz, so they had a fallback plan, and they'll continue to spend money. And the owner says, hey, look, we got plenty of time. There's plenty of free agents out there. The GM feels or sounds very confident about what he's going to be able to try to do. And I'm just saying the next guy will be Jeff McNeil, and don't be surprised if there are a few more behind him too as well. So they're going to add something. We don't know what that's going to be. We don't know if it's going to be Kyle Tucker. We don't know if it's going to be Cody Bellinger. We don't know if it's going to be Alex Bregman. We don't know if it's going to be King from San Diego. We don't know if they're going to make a trade for Framber Valdez. Look,
he's a free agent, right?
He's a free agent.
Yeah.
He's free. So, there are a number of things that they could still do that will kind of nullify some of this sting that we're all feeling. And I would say that Brandon Nimmo, Pete Alonso definitely deserve video tributes when they come back.
Oh,
you know
without
what?
a doubt.
They wanted to be here, and they did the right thing. And I think in the ideas, Brandon Nimmo, I think, you know what? I get it. You need to start over. You need to do different things. You need to break up the core of this baseball team, and you got to figure something else out, and you got to build around Lindor and Juan Soto. And I think that's what David Stearns is doing right now. I think he's right in the middle of it. And there's a lot of screaming and yelling going on yesterday. I saw it all over social media and everything else from all our friends who are Met fans who tend to have a very loud voice in the social media space. They all just are killing the Mets. And if you sit here today and this morning and you say to yourself, this is the Great Met Reset, then you understand what we're in the midst of. And it's going to take some time until we finally see what the final product going into the season is going to look like.
Yeah, one of the things that I keep hearing is, replacing the production. This is where I actually, even though we've made fun of the run prevention thing that David Stearns always brings up, but this is one of the times that I'm going to agree with that. So everybody just insists on they look at the home runs, they look at the RBIs, they look at that stuff, and they just assume that those things translate into wins all the time. But they don't. It's like when those things happen, right? And also what is going on with the rest of the team. So I'll just tell you. So I looked this up because I was curious.
Well, you were looking things up yesterday?
Yeah.
I mean, you went into your bag of statistics?
No,
and analytics?
No. This is very simple.
Okay.
This is not analytics. Very, very simple math.
All right.
So in 2024, Pete Alonso had his worst offensive year, right? He was awful, right? And Juan Soto wasn't here. Okay. And then in 2025, Pete Alonso had an unbelievable year, and Juan Soto was here and had an unbelievable year, right? For the run production.
There was a positive impact in that regard.
Right, but with run production and home runs and RBIs, right?
Yeah.
What do you think the difference was in runs scored from 2024 to 2025?
Not much.
2.
Yeah.
They scored 766 runs in 2024.
Without Juan Soto.
And Pete Alonso having a miserable year.
Yeah.
And 768 runs in 2025 with Pete Alonso doing all the things he did and Juan Soto having this unbelievable offensive year.
Don't you feel, though, like the Mets last year did not make it because their starting pitching faltered?
Right. So that's the next point I'm going to make.
Okay.
Is that, okay, so yeah, you are losing production. And yes, I think they will be able to replace some of that production. But it's also how many runs are you giving up and how are you winning games? And right now, as we sit here, there's a lot of work to do with the rotation and the bullpen still. So I believe that they will, that starting 8 that I always talk about is so important. They will piece that together. But it's really about what are we going to get out of this rotation and how good is the bullpen going to be relative to the rest of Major League Baseball. And those are the things I need to see. And I will be upset if they don't go out and get an anchor at the top of that rotation who's not on this team right now. Because Cody Bellinger and Sean Manaea as far as veterans, and I'm excited about Nolan McLean, don't get me wrong. I'm excited about Brandon Sproat and Jonah Tong if they're here and they're not in a deal. I'm excited about the young guys, but what I want is a proven guy I can trust. I can't trust Cody Bellinger. I can't trust Sean Manaea after last year and the loose bodies in the elbow.
Oh, loose bodies.
And these young guys, although they've showed a lot of promise, they're still guys that have not pitched a full season.
So last year, the teams that you were talking about in terms of scoring runs. So you know who scored the most runs in the league last year?
I know the answer to this. The New York Yankees.
That's exactly. They were number 1. The Dodgers were number 2. And then came the lowly Brewers, Blue Jays, Cubs, Diamondbacks.
Lowly Brewers, they had the best record in the National League.
I say lowly because they're Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
And very small market team.
A little tiny.
Little tiny market team. And then the Blue Jays, then the Cubs, Diamondbacks, Reds. Where are the Mets? The Mets are I guess, 9th on this list, or tied for 9th on this list with the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
The point being is that when you look at that number and you say to yourself, okay, they're in the top 10 of scoring runs in the league, but where are they when it comes to runs given up? And that ain't good. And that's where this whole defensive mindset is coming from. And I do think, again, when you start getting rid of guys that have been here for 6, 7, and 10 years, fans are going to react to that because fans have come accustomed to going to the ballpark and seeing them at their respective positions and playing the way that they played baseball. And they pretty much all were really, really likable people.
Yeah.
We all love Brandon Nimmo. We all love Pete Alonso. And we love the Timmy Trumpets. And we love Edwin Diaz. And we know that when you lose players like this, there is going to be an emotional reaction to it. And I think by far the overwhelming, I feel, reaction to all of this is strictly emotional because of the attachment that we would have to players that have been here a long time. It took me a while to get over the fact that Chris Kreider was not going to be in a Ranger uniform. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love that guy. Love the way he played. He's going to go down as one of the great Rangers of all time.
It's very it's similar to Pete Alonso.
It is, but he was here longer than Pete. But I would say, he was a Ranger fan favorite. He was also frustrating at times. Don't get me wrong; they're all frustrating at times. Pete Alonso was frustrating at times when he would go into those 7-10 game slumps where he'd strike out three times every game. or where Chris Kreider would go 10 games without a goal. I mean, but still, he was like part of the backbone of the franchise. And that's what's happening here in front of our eyes. Now, they're not sending a letter out to anybody because I do believe that they want to replace these guys with different types of players, different types of free agents that I believe that they're going to pay for. I don't know if it's Kyle Tucker. I don't know if it's Cody Bellinger. I don't know if it's Alex Bregman. I don't know if it's three of the five that I mentioned earlier this morning, 2 of the 5. I just believe that they're not going to sit here and do nothing. They have to.
No, of course. And, I just think we really need to stop thinking about individual numbers having a direct correlation into wins and losses. That's not the way that the general managers look at it. And if any Met fan thinks that David Stearns is doing this to piss them off or he has no clue what he's doing. And we may look down the road and say he was a terrible GM. Obviously, that's a possibility. But what he's doing, he believes, will make the team better to try to win a championship than having these guys here. You might disagree with it now. You may end up being right. But he's trying to build a winner. And he looked at what the Mets had last year, and it didn't work. And a lot of that was his fault with the rotation and not really, putting Frankie Montas and bringing Minaya back. It was terrible. A lot of that had to do with him, but he's not doing this to piss you off. He's doing this to try to win a championship.
Do you think, and I was trying to think, how many playoff games did that group of guys play in? I mean,
well, they played in a lot in 2024. So they obviously played in the wild card series. So that was 3 there. They also had the game, the fight. Well, it was 162 though with the Braves, so that really wasn't the playoffs. So they played that. Then they played the Phillies series, right? So that was they beat the Phillies in 4 in that series, and then they lost in 6 to the Dodgers. So
but the point being is like over the course of the time that all 3 players were here. Yeah. I think that there were individual numbers that were reasonably good, but I don't necessarily know that they were a winning team.
Yeah, in 2022, they lost in the wild card series in 3 to the Padres. So that was another 3 that those guys played in. But yeah, I mean, they got whipped by the Padres, and obviously 2024 was a special season. But that's the thing. All
right, so this general manager has basically wiped out an entire coaching staff. Mm-hmm. Is removed 3 guys that have been here at minimum 6 years. Uh-huh. He is not done removing players from this roster that we've all come to know and appreciate and have given us great memories at certain times. So he is 100% rebuilding. And remember, when they made that trade for Marcus Semien, one of the things that was said about Marcus Semien, other than his run prevention, his ability to hit, and everything else, was what?
Clubhouse.
Yes. And, that was the whole thing about Kyle Schwarber, too. I mean, supposedly a great clubhouse guy, but also an effective player who does produce. I don't know what, again, I don't know what the hell was going on in the Ranger clubhouse. I have no idea how Chris Drury mismanaged the whole Jacob Trouba fiasco at the end of the playoffs after losing to I think it was Carolina. And that whole start of the next year was a complete and utter disaster made by the front office, if you ask me. And I would say the same thing. I feel like last year was as big as embarrassment and as big as a disappointment as the Mets have ever had, simply because of signing Juan Soto and how much money they put into the team. And you know what? Those guys were all making money, but they didn't come through. The team did not come through when they need to. How many times, and I'm sure David Stearns and his analytic geeks over there all understand, how many times were there guys on second and third late in the game and a guy struck out as opposed to coming through with a big hit?
Right, this is exactly my point. So, yeah, Pete Alonso had this great year. Juan Soto had this great year. But there were so many times they couldn't hit with runners in scoring position, and their staff stunk, and then their bullpen fell apart. So it's just because you lose individual offensive production doesn't mean that your team is always going to get worse. There's other ways to win baseball games.
And I would also say that David Stearns is doing what I always advocate for. Ruthless, but ruthless. You better have a plan behind the ruthlessness.
I know he has a plan, but it just might not be as immediate as everybody wants it to be. He probably is thinking we are going to break the bank with Skubal next offseason like we did with Soto. but we're not going to trade for him now because we're going to have to empty out our entire farm system, and the first guy they're going to ask for is Nolan McLean. You don't want to trade him.
No way.
So right, exactly. So they're going to wait till next offseason. Remember the first offseason they didn't do anything. They did nothing that first offseason with David Stearns.
You know why? Because they felt like they had a core group of guys that was here.
But also they knew that they were going to
go after Soto
the next year and pay him all the money. So I think that it's going to be a similar situation here.
I don't think that's going to be the case. And the reason I say that,
you don't think they're going to get signed Skubal next year?
No, I'm not saying that. Skubal could be a guy that comes here. No, I'm saying right now, this year, they're not going to put this present team to
No. I'm not saying that.
And the point being is you have to remember also, after signing Juan Soto, they sold, I think they had $3.2 million come to their stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve Cohen knows you spend money, you're going to make money. And sometimes you got to lose money in order to make money. And then obviously spending the money that he did, I think, also pushed the whole political thing for the Metropolitan Park to where it is today, where he's got the right to do whatever he wants to do over there now. And I just think that that's a big part of all of this. But I do think that they will sign a couple guys here that the Met fan can take a big, deep breath and relax. Now, I if the Dodgers are healthy, nobody's beating them. Let's be realistic. And by the way, we sit here and complain about the Mets. I mean, the Yankees haven't done anything.
And I don't think they will. Other than Bellinger, and I'm not sure that's going to happen.
And to me, I would think that the Yankees and the Mets would both be in on Bellinger. And it's not a lot of times where these two teams go toe-to-toe.
They did last year.
With each other. The Yankees were not giving Juan Soto
But they went toe-to-toe. They wanted him back. They just didn't go to that level.
Yeah, well, they're playing games with their fans. Hey, we're in. I don't know. I don't think the Mets are playing games with their fans saying, hey, we offered Edwin Diaz $22 million a year, 66 over 3, and there's still wiggle room left. And then Edwin went to the Dodgers. They said, okay, look, we'll pay you more than that, but you got to come here. You can't bring this deal back to the Mets. That's what I believe happened there. I believe that Edwin Diaz got the offer from the Mets. Then he and his agent brought it to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers said, look, this is what we're going to pay you. It's going to be more than what the Mets are going to offer you. But you cannot use us as leverage going back to the Mets. I believe that happened because it has been reported, and I think accurately so, that Edwin Diaz did not come back to the Mets after he got the offer from the Dodgers. So he got the Met offer first, got the Dodger offer, and then signed it.
Yeah, which is something that we have
and
always...
And timing is everything.
Yeah, we've always talked about. And he also, if he really wanted to be a New York Met, he would have brought it back, but he didn't. He loved the idea of being on the Dodgers, and I would too, by the way.
Yeah, but by the way, I bet you the Dodgers said, look, before we even give you a number, we're telling you, if we pay you more than what the Mets are offering, you're not going back to the Mets with that offer. You're signing it right now. That to me is what happened with Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, and they're in the middle of the great Met reset.
Right, and by the way, it's not like signing with the Tiger. I'm not disparaging the Tigers or the Indians or the Kansas City Royals, who every now and again go out on a limb and spend some money somewhere, just I think to pacify their fans a little bit. But this is the Dodgers that he has an opportunity to go pitch for, and a Dodger team that is loaded every year and has a chance every year. And he's going to be on the back end of that bullpen, and he's going to be the closer for the defending world champions.